one of the things that we've been working with our customers on very closely during the pandemic is looking at the elasticity values of different micro markets in their business. And there may be instances where lowering price makes sense to pick up some incremental volume. And then there may be instances where holding the line on price is the more sound strategy, that dropping the price isn't really going to increase your win rate in any significant way. And so I think, using elasticity as a way to run those different what if scenarios in your business and understand, are you trying to be more revenue aggressive? Are you trying to be more profit aggressive? Market by market, and really having that segmentation structure in place so that you're able to understand that is really key to getting through this pandemic, and then also making good decisions post-pandemic. One of the things that we like to look at is how much share of wallet do you have with your customers, right? You may have a customer that spends a lot of money with you that you might classify as a large customer, but they might only be giving you a portion of their share of wallet, and there's a lot more headroom there that you could be winning more business. On the flip side, you might have a smaller, medium-sized spend customer where they are giving you the majority of their wallet share. And so I think you need to balance out not just serving your largest customers with the largest spend with you, but really looking at what percentage of their share of wallet do you have, and rewarding that loyalty both in terms of inventory availability as well as any additional discounts where that might be at play, right? To reward them for doing business with you in a profitable way, especially at this particular time. First, having a statistically sound pricing segmentation structure in place is key, I think, for companies that have the foresight to make some investment into pricing strategy, pricing processes, pricing software. They're probably better positioned during this time than potentially others. But for those that have that in place, we rely on a lot of machine learning techniques to reclassify customers as their behavior changes. So it's not static, right? The factors that drive price in your business remain the same, but low velocity products may become higher velocity products and vice versa, right? Large customers might look like small customers and vice versa, just depending on what industry you're in and the markets that you're serving. And so being able to have customers and products move within the statistically relevant segmentation attributes that are currently in your structure, I think is really important in being dynamic in that way. So, we've spent a lot of time with our customers making sure that our price optimization models are still sound and are still explaining price variation, price differentiation effectively. So we run, with our pricing scientists, different statistical measures to measure the efficacy of the model overall. And so we can say, okay, is this still a sound model? And certainly this pandemic for us has also been new. And we wanted to verify that pricing models are still making sense for customers. And we have been pleasantly, I don't know that I'd use the word surprised, but pleasantly surprised since, the pandemic is a new business twist for all of us, that the models are in fact very sound. And so when you have that structure in place, you have good elasticity measurement, if you see that demand is dropping off in a given market segment or demand is stable in another market segment, you can actually be much more surgical in the way that you approach pricing changes, deciding that maybe you need to lower prices we talked about earlier to pick up some additional volume if there is some to be gained, or maybe just hold the line on price. It's about not making knee-jerk reactions, but making very surgical, thoughtful moves at this time. And to Chris's point, kind of slowing down the business when necessary. I think the worst thing that companies can do in this time is kind of do a race to the bottom on price, when if you just, hold the line on price, make thoughtful decisions, don't price gouge your customers, you're likely to come out much better at the end of this. I think this pandemic is going to change the way all of us work, right? People are getting much more used to working from home, working remotely. And so certainly, I think a significant shift away from the reliance on in-person meetings, right? We can be very productive over video calls. I think we're proving today can be a meaningful way to still connect with people. And so what that means is if people are not then traveling to in-person meetings, perhaps the number of accounts that a salesperson can handle can increase. We've seen that companies with house accounts, right, that long tail of customers are able to put increased human focus on those house accounts to really try to grow that business and uncover opportunities there. So I think that's kind of one important shift. And then the other piece, and Chris touched on this, is e-commerce, right? You may have been dipping your toe in the water on e-commerce. It may have been a side project or a little bit of afterthought in your business. You needed to have a presence, but it really wasn't your main way where you thought you would transact business. And now it's becoming vital. And lagging behind in that customer experience is really not acceptable anymore. So we're seeing that our customers expect a real-time response that mimics interaction with the salesperson. So we're seeing an increased interest in being able to have a machine negotiate with a human on the other side of your e-commerce platform, right? So what can you do from a real-time pricing perspective, intelligent automated negotiation to really streamline that process so that you don't have a team of people needing to work discount requests and quotes behind the scene. You can use your pricing tools, real-time calls into your system to actually enable a much more realistic and self-serve experience that doesn't require processes on the back end. And then it's also about how do you use that e-commerce channel to increase lines per order with your customer to suggest relevant product and personalized recommendations to them. And so really thinking about that holistic customer experience as if I salesperson there, what would they do? And then being able to mimic that online is, I think, really the key to being competitive now, but also as we move out of this and our work styles change. And even in industries that are not doing as well during this time, I think we can all pinpoint those based on what we're seeing happening around our own towns. But even in industries that aren't doing as well, I think smart companies are looking at this as a time where maybe business has slowed down a bit and they might now have bandwidth to take on a project to actually improve how they approach pricing. And so I think this is a good time to think about investing for the long term and taking that long-term view as Chris talked about. So even if, business is down in a given sector, there are likely still to be pockets of companies, as we've, certainly seen an increase in search and demand for solutions during this time, that are willing to make an investment and see how they can come out of this stronger. I always tell companies that I talk to that they have far more usable data than they think, and the data is cleaner than they think. A lot of people let data prep and cleanliness kind of hold them back. They wait until their data is perfect. And the truth is, it is, I don't know that we've ever looked at a company and said, you know what, your data is completely unusable such that we can't help you still improve your pricing performance, right? It doesn't need to be perfect, right? Perfect is the enemy of good. And so, a lot of companies will take what is typically their cleanest sources of data, right? Things like invoice transaction data, customer and product master data, and use that as a starting point to the extent that, companies have other data sources available, like, loss data on quotes or competitive information or data that they gather in the course of doing business through digital and e-commerce channels. All of that data can be very useful to bring into a model. So I'd say that, some data cleanup might be necessary, but we also have advanced to a point where there are a lot of data science techniques that can enhance and clean data sources. You don't need to necessarily go through a huge manual effort to clean all of that up. So I wouldn't let data cleanliness be a roadblock in terms of thinking about how to get started with better pricing, and that you probably have quite a bit of usable data already that can really make an impact and a difference in your business performance. There are a plethora of tools on the market. Zilliant certainly offers tools for both pricing teams in the form of price optimization and management, as well as tools that are meant to be used by frontline sales folks, whether that's quoting or managing customer-specific price agreements or pinpointing where you have opportunity for wallet share expansion and where you might be losing business and making those actionable. So I like to think about it in terms of more back office and front office, and then all of the connections that you need from your systems into those types of tools to make data transfer as easy as possible. So we have a cloud native software as a service platform that enables all of that. But I think it's important to look at how much data do you need to manage? What are you trying to solve for in terms of pricing and how you price? And then what systems do you need to integrate with in order to try to create as seamless of an experience as possible for both your internal users as well as your customers?